Greetings, students of the Force, and welcome back to the channel. When Darth Vader finally became fully cognizant and was officially beginning to live out his days within his armor, he was astonished at the incompetence that the medical droids had shown when rebuilding him in his new prison. We have previously covered in great detail all of the horrific shortcomings that Vader's suit had that influenced the suffering of the Dark Lord. But today, we wanted to take a different approach and take a look at the upgrades Vader actually managed to make to it behind the back of his Emperor and Palpatine, who obviously had great incentive to make Vader incredibly weak, and especially susceptible to his greatest gift in the Force lightning, making Vader completely crippled to it. Anakin Skywalker had previously been a very handy mechanic, and so surely he would have given at least his suit a few improvements, as even Sidious had explained to him that the armor was his to do with as he pleased, although of course Vader needed to take precautions, and ensure that any major upgrades he made that the Emperor was not aware of. Some of the first improvements that Vader made were very minor, more like adjustments and fine-tuning than anything else. The reason being that Vader had eventually gotten used to all of the limitations of his suit and began to use them to fuel his power in the dark side, doing so by concentrating on all of the pain that it caused him in any given moment. However, there were a few adjustments that needed to be made just so the suit could be functional in the first place, and today we wanted to take a look at those and talk about the smaller improvements as well as two rather major upgrades Vader would make to his armor. So without further ado, let us begin. Like we mentioned earlier, the shortcomings of the suit did improve Vader with a source from which he could pull upon the dark side. However, there were certain things that truly hindered him in a way that he could not simply ignore. The first being his cybernetic limbs. The only limb of Vader's that felt truly natural was his right hand, as this was the prosthetic given to him by the Jedi, immediately following losing his arm to Dooku. This arm had served him faithfully throughout the Clone Wars. However, his other limbs were anything but even comfortable. They were clunky, large, and sometimes slow to respond when he needed them to move. This was because they weren't made of Durasteel, but recycled parts from General Grievous. This material was of course completely obsolete, having been pre-Clone Wars technology, not technology fit for a Sith Lord. His other arm didn't respond appropriately to his needs, and would sometimes put out far too much strength in his grip, causing him to accidentally crush the hilt of his lightsaber at one point in time. So Vader would go on to work using his mechanical skills in order to adjust the strength output and improve the response time within his joints, in order to make them feel a bit more natural to use when he needed them to. These though were but small upgrades compared to the others here that we have listed. The other improvements he made was to his respiratory system. Vader outfitted himself with the independent oxygen filtration system, which provided a number of benefits to the Sith Lord. The suit allowed Vader to function in extremely inhospitable environments, including the vacuum of space. Of course, this was due to the suit's pressurized system, as well as the independent oxygen supply and air filtration system. These also provided Vader with a virtual immunity to the effects of airborne biological weapons and toxins. One thing does stand out though, and that is that his suit's notorious weakness to Force lightning, which we mentioned earlier. This was a purposeful implementation that Sidious made to his suit when Anakin was being rebuilt. In the case that Vader, his apprentice, ever decided to turn on him, Sidious would be able to put him down permanently with his most efficient weapon ever. Vader was aware of this weakness though, and Sidious made no effort to hide what he did, as well as exploit it whenever he pleased. Vader though, in secret, would attempt to compensate for this vulnerability to Force lightning by upgrading the armor with some sort of insulation, with this being the main reason why I wanted to make this video. Darth Vader's secret adjustment to his suit that he hid from Darth Sidious, that being the insulation of his systems. However, in the end, this unfortunately for Vader provided only limited protection. However, while the insulation provided only partial protection against electrical discharges, the limit to the amount of current that it could absorb appeared to be a fairly high one. For instance, during his duel with Starkiller on the world of Kamino, Vader was struck by an extremely powerful blast of Force lightning from his apprentice, and though it damaged his cybernetics to the point where he could fight no longer, he survived this encounter and the blast, and was not in any mortal danger afterwards as he normally would have been. with this being a direct result of his secret upgrade. Perhaps it was this upgrade that helped him on the second Death Star when he rescued his son from the Emperor. With only one arm and imbued strongly with the Force, he picked up his former dark side master and hurled him down the cavern to his apparent death. The whole time carrying Sidious, the Emperor was filling Vader with an absolutely lethal dose of Force lightning, and Sidious's most potent lightning. This lightning was meant to kill those on contact and nearly turn them to dust. Luke was about to die to the Emperor's lightning, just as Sidious had used on his own master Plagueis all those years ago. For all intents and purposes, this kind of Force lightning should have put Vader down instantly. The reason being that the lightning would have conducted through his circuitry in his prosthetic limbs, creating basically a current in his very own body which would have killed him, or should have killed him if not for this upgrade. However, through both his strength in the Force and perhaps this insulation that he had put in secret, he was able to survive for just a few more brief seconds, just enough time to finish off Sidious. I want to stress just how powerful this lightning was in this moment. Darth Sidious had a specialty in Force lightning and was putting a deadly amount of power into Luke. But when he felt Vader pick him up, he turned it on his apprentice and unleashed the full power of the dark side at absolute max level. He could feel that his end was nigh, and he wanted to kill Vader before it could ever happen to him. However, with these upgrades, as well as Anakin's full resolve within the Force, it happened anyway, and Vader succeeded. These small upgrades always made a difference, and ultimately served Lord Vader in the end, and in his final sacrifice for his son Luke. But what did you think of this, and what did you think of the very minor and one major improvement that Darth Vader made to his suit? What are your thoughts on the fact that Darth Vader went behind the back of his Sith Master Lord Sidious in order to improve his suit? And what do you think a full-powered Vader in a fully functional suit would have been like? As always, my friends, thank you guys so much for watching the channel. I hope you've been enjoying the content recently. May the Force be with you, and have a great day.